Hi everybody, it's Alexi from Lexawise. One of the questions we get all the time is, what kind of questions actually show up on the real estate exam? That's exactly why we created this 100 practice questions series, featuring the most common real estate exam questions and answers you need to know. In this video, you'll get the first 50 most common questions. Part 2 is coming soon and it covers the next 50. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Let's jump right in.
Lexawise, Real Estate Exam Prep.
So here's how it works. I'll show you each question, give you a moment to think, and then walk you through the right answer with a quick breakdown. Here's the first question on our list. Let's read it. What prevents an individual from adopting a position that conflicts with a previous position or action? A. Doctrine of Estoppel. B. Fiduciary duty. C. Doctrine of good faith. D. Lis pendens. Think about it. Take a moment. The correct answer is A, Doctrine of Estoppel. Estoppel is a legal principle that prevents someone from adopting a position that conflicts with a previous position or action. In other words, if you say or do something first, you can't later say or do the opposite. This helps keep people honest and fair in agreements. Next question. A contract in which all parties have fulfilled their promises is A. Executed contract. B. Expired contract. C. Executory contract. D. Completed contract. Take a breath and think. The correct answer is also A. Executed contract. An executed contract is a legally binding agreement where all parties have fully performed their obligations as outlined in the terms of the contract. This means every term has been met, every promise has been fulfilled, and nothing remains to be done by either side. Once a contract is executed, it becomes final and enforceable under the law. Let's move on to the next question. What is the name of the process where one party is substituted for another party in a contract? A. Rescission. B. Novation. C. Redaction. D. Waiver. Take a moment. Option B. Novation is the right answer. In this case, novation is when a contract is updated by replacing one party with a new one. The original party is no longer responsible, and the new party takes over all their rights and obligations. This often happens in business deals, like when a company is sold and the new owner steps into the old contracts. Next question. What happens when the offeree makes a counteroffer? A. The original offer turns into a unilateral offer. B. ECT. The original offerer is not permitted to revise the terms of their offer. C. The offeree becomes the offeror. D. It is regarded as a partial acceptance of the original offer. Think about it. The correct answer is C. Did you guess right? A counteroffer is when someone responds to a deal by proposing new terms, changing the price, conditions, or other details. Remember the dash or dash E rule. Offeror is the one giving the offer, offeree is the one receiving it. In a counteroffer, the offerer becomes the offeree. Let's move on to the next question, everyone. When the letters HVAC appear in a commercial or industrial lease, it normally refers to A. Heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. B. Homesteads, vacancies, and additional conveyances. C. Use of a household vacuum on the average carpet. The high voltage alternating current. Think it through. A is the correct answer. HVAC stands for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. Now, what is correct about a promissory note when getting financing? A. The promissory note is secured by the grant deed. B. The promissory note is not included in the deed of trust. C. The deed of trust is secured by the promissory note. D. The deed of trust secures the promissory note. Think about it. The last one is the correct answer. The correct answer is D. The deed of trust secures the promissory note. The note is the borrower's promise to repay, and the deed of trust uses the property as collateral to ensure that promise is fulfilled. Why not the others? A is wrong because grant deeds transfer ownership, not secure loans. B is wrong because the deed of trust includes the terms of the promissory note. C is incorrect because the deed of trust, not the promissory note, provides the security. All right, let's keep going. Next question. An option contract. A results in a commission to the broker if the optionee does not exercise the option. B gives the buyer a lien on the property. C keeps an offer open for a specified period of time. D requires the optionee to complete the purchase. Pause and think. C is the correct answer. Keeps an offer open for a specified period of time. Let's read the explanation. An option contract is a legal agreement that allows the holder to keep an offer to sell or lease real estate open for a specified period of time. Essentially, it gives the holder the right, but not the obligation, to buy or lease the property within the agreed upon time frame. Very straightforward, right? Let's keep going. What is the document that defines the broker-seller relationship? A. Disclosure statement. B. Listing agreement. C. Purchase contract. D. Exclusive agency contract. Take a moment. This one is easy. The right answer is B. The listing agreement. While brokers use many contracts like disclosures, purchase agreements, or exclusive agency, the listing agreement is the one that explicitly defines the working relationship between the broker and the property owner. Next question. If a mortgage is secured by several parcels of real property, it is typically known as A. A junior mortgage, B. A package mortgage, C. A blanket mortgage, D. An open-ended mortgage. Pause to decide. Option C is correct. Blanket mortgage. A blanket mortgage or blanket loan is one big mortgage that finances the purchase of large tracts of real property. Developers use this when they buy large pieces of land that they plan to split up and sell piece by piece over time. I'm giving you a sum-up version of the explanations, but as you can see here, LexaWise's practice tests have very detailed ones. Feel free to pause anytime if you need to read them again or take notes. Let's keep practicing. Which federal law mandates that finance charges must be disclosed as an annual percentage rate APR? A. Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA. B. Equal Credit Opportunity Act, ECOA. C. Federal Fair Housing Act. D. Truth in Lending Act. Take a moment to think it through. The correct answer is D. Truth in Lending Act, also known as TILA. The Truth in Lending Act is a consumer protection law that makes sure lenders clearly explain loan costs upfront. It requires them to disclose key details like interest rates shown as an APR, finance charges, and other fees. Let's move on. The clause in a mortgage, contract, or trust deed which allows the lender to call the entire unpaid balance upon default is called the A. Acceleration clause. B. Defeasance clause. C. Cancellation clause. D. Balloon payment clause. Pause and consider. The correct answer is A. Acceleration clause. It states that if the borrower fails to make payments as agreed, the lender can accelerate the payment schedule and require the borrower to pay the entire remaining balance immediately. Next up, the maximum permissible loan-to-value ratios are A. Fixed by law for conventional loans. B. Not determined by federal statute in the case of Federal Housing Administration FHA loans. C. Based on the competitive analysis of the market by the banker. D. Based on sale price or appraised value, whichever is lower. Give it some thought. The correct answer is D. Based on sale price or appraised value, whichever is lower. In many cases, the maximum permissible loan-to-value ratio is based on the lower of the sale price or appraised value of the property. This ensures the loan does not exceed the actual market value. Here's another one. Under what condition can a VA loan be approved for the purchase of a 1-to-4 family property? A. The loan will be amortized over a period of 20 years or less. B. A minimum down payment of 10% will be required. C. The veteran attests that the rental income will be sufficient to cover the mortgage payments. D. The veteran agrees to live there. Think it over carefully. The correct answer is D. The veteran agrees to live there. VA loans can be used to buy 1 to 4 unit properties, but the veteran must live in one unit as their primary home. This requirement ensures the loan is for a residence, not an investment. Let's look at this one. A veteran wants to refinance their home using a VA guaranteed loan. However, the lender requires the payment of 2 discount points to proceed. What can the veteran do in this situation? A. They can proceed with the refinance loan and pay the discount points. B. They can only refinance with a VA loan that does not include any discount points charged by the lender. C. They can only refinance with a VA loan that charges no more than 2 discount points. D. They can pay a maximum of 1% of the loan amount as an origination fee. Pause to decide. The correct answer is A. They can proceed with the refinance loan and pay the discount points. Discount points let borrowers pay up front to lower their interest rate. In this case, the veteran can choose to pay the points if the refinance results in long-term savings. Let's keep the momentum going. From the perspective of a seller, a real estate broker who represents them is usually viewed as A. An ostensible agent, B. A factor agent, C. A general agent, D. A special agent. Take a second to consider. The correct answer is D. A special agent. In this case, a broker is a special agent because they have limited authority and a temporary role. They're employed for a specific task, finding a buyer. Here's another one to think through. Which of the following best characterizes a broker's responsibility to keep a principal thoroughly informed? A. Professional standards. B. Code of ethics. C. Standards and practices. D. Fiduciary obligation. Stop and reason it out. The correct answer is D. Fiduciary obligation. One of the fiduciary duties is disclosure. A broker must share all important information openly and honestly with the client. Now let's look at this one. Which of the following actions would be considered a violation of RESPA? A. A buyer requesting a particular lender. B. A title insurance company paying $40 for referring clients. C. An agent representing both the buyer and the seller. D. Providing funds to an unlicensed buyer or seller. Pause and reflect. Correct answer is option B. A title insurance company paying $40 for referring clients is the correct answer cause. Under RESPA, title insurance companies can't give brokers kickbacks or any form of compensation just for referring clients. It's considered an illegal referral fee. Keep going strong. Apart from being diligent, careful, and skilled, a real estate agent is obligated to fully disclose all facts relevant to the subject of the agency to their principal. If the agent deliberately withholds such information, it would likely be considered A. Constructive fraud, B. Misrepresentation, C. Conversion, D. Commingling. Think about your choice. The correct answer is B. Misrepresentation. When an agent gives false or misleading information on purpose, by accident, or through carelessness, it's called misrepresentation. This can result in license penalties, lawsuits, or even criminal charges. Let's tackle this next one. What is the term used for the states where the lender holds title to a mortgaged real estate property? A. Lien theory states. B. Statutory title states. C. Strict title forfeiture states. D. Title theory states. Give it a moment to consider. That would be D. Title theory states. In title theory states, the lender temporarily holds legal ownership of the property through a trustee while the borrower pays off the mortgage. Here's one more to think about. A landlord can evict a blind or physically disabled tenant from the premises if the tenant A. insists on a handicapped parking place, B. makes modifications to their unit at their own expense. C gets a service dog, and the apartment policy does not allow pets. D has loud parties and makes too much noise. Pause to decide. The right answer is D, has loud parties and makes too much noise. Things like accommodations or even allowing a guide dog can be required by law. But that doesn't mean a tenant with a disability is exempt from following basic rules, such as disturbing neighbors. Let's keep practicing. Julian, a licensed principal real estate broker, was sued for conversion. This means that Julian is accused of having allegedly done the following. A. Commingled the client's trust account funds with his own. B. Misappropriated his client's funds. C. Failed to properly balance and keep track of the trust account for their clients in a prompt manner. D. Failed to ensure that the trust account for his clients had a sufficient amount of funds at all times. Take a second to think it over. Correct choice. B. Misappropriated his client's funds. Misappropriation is when someone intentionally uses another person's money or property improperly. It's a serious legal violation and should never be confused with commingling, which involves mixing funds. All right, let's continue. The Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, does not outline specific legal penalties for A. Unearned fees, B. A buyer acquiring a specific loan provider, C. A seller agent requiring a specific title insurer, D. Kickbacks. Let this one sink in for a moment. You guessed it, dash dash. B. A buyer acquiring a specific loan provider. Buyers are permitted to choose whichever lender they prefer. RESPA is designed to prevent coercion, not limit a buyer's freedom of choice. Now let's go over this scenario. Broker Lewis has had a listing for a house for sale for 8 months without any success in selling it. He is aware the property requires substantial repairs and has priced it significantly above market value. He places an advertisement claiming, "Amazing property, move-in ready. Bob, 9342132." This advertisement is problematic because A. The person responsible for publishing the advertisement could face liability for its dishonesty. B. It is not ethical to overprice a property. C. It is misleading advertising because Louis knows it needs major repairs. D. It does not say the asking price. Think it through before answering. The correct answer is C. It is misleading advertising because Louis knows it needs major repairs. Misleading advertising includes exaggerations or claims that don't reflect the actual condition of the property. Here, calling it move-in ready while knowing it needs substantial repairs is deceptive. Next up, the personal, revocable, and unassignable permission of authority to perform one or more actions on the land of another without holding any ownership interest in it is called A. Easement, B. Encroachment, C option, D. License. Reflect on your answer. The correct choice is D. License. This kind of permission is known as a license. It's personal, can't be transferred, can be revoked at any time, and doesn't grant any ownership rights, just temporary access. Let's analyze this next scenario carefully. A real estate agent wrote an offer for a buyer. The buyer was primarily interested in this particular home because it was located in a very good school district. The deposit receipt did not make the offer contingent upon the school district. The offer was accepted and escrow was opened. During escrow, the buyer discovers the school district had just been changed, and now the home is located in a poor school district. Which of the following is true? A. The buyer is not forced to buy. B. The buyer can back out. C. The buyer is bound to the contract. D. The buyer has the right to rescind. Pause and consider. The right answer is C. The buyer is bound to the contract. Because there was no contingency related to the school district in the offer, the buyer has no legal basis to cancel. The terms of the accepted contract still apply. Here's another one to work through. Broker Paul received a 60-day exclusive agency listing to sell a property owned by Gavin. However, after 15 days had passed without any sale, Gavin sent a certified mail letter to Paul canceling the listing. A week later, Gavin listed the property with several brokers through open listings. And 2 weeks later, one of these brokers completed a sale to new owners. Given these circumstances, what is the most likely outcome for Gavin? A. Gavin owes commission to the selling broker only. B. Gavin had a right to relist property and also the right to cancel Paul's listing, and his notice of cancellation would accomplish this without possible liability to Gavin. C. Gavin did not have the right to give open listings to other brokers. D. Gavin is liable for payment of commission to Paul as well as to the selling broker. Take a second to think this through. The correct answer is D. Gavin is liable for payment of commission to Paul as well as to the selling broker. Unless both parties agree to cancel, an exclusive agency agreement remains in force. If another agent completes the sale during that time, the seller could owe commissions to both. Let's keep it going with this one. What is the term used to describe the unlawful practice of a banker denying loans to a specific neighborhood based on its racial composition? A. Steering. B. Blockbusting. C. Redlining. D. Panic peddling. Think it over for a moment. That's right. C. Redlining. Redlining involved banks literally drawing red lines around minority neighborhoods and denying loans based on racial factors. This discriminatory practice is illegal today under fair housing laws. Let's look at this one. Conversion is best described as A. Accepting and depositing money into a client's trust account. B. Adding personal funds into a business account. C. Using funds from a business account for personal use. D. Using funds from a client's trust account for personal use. Give this one a quick look. The correct answer is D. Using funds from a client's trust account for personal use. In real estate, this is called conversion, and it's a serious offense. It happens when a licensee misuses client funds, such as earnest money, for their own personal or business expenses. Now let's move on. The process of establishing an easement through prescription is comparable to A. Police power, B. Unlawful detained action, C. Adverse possession, D. Accretion. Pause to consider your choice. The right answer here is C. Adverse possession. Both involve the use of property without the owner's consent for a legally defined period. However, while adverse possession can lead to ownership, a prescriptive easement only allows use, not ownership of the property. Here's one more for you. Among the following choices, which one is a form of freehold estate? A. Estate at will. B. Estate at sufferance. C. Life estate. D. Estate for years. Think it through before answering. The correct option is C. Life estate. A life estate is a freehold estate because it grants possession and ownership for an indefinite period, measured by a person's life. The others listed are leasehold, non-freehold estates with specific timeframes. Next up, what is the term used to describe items installed by a tenant on the rental property that are associated with their business? A. Implements. B. Fixtures. C. Trade fixtures. D. Easements. Pause and decide. The right choice is C. Trade fixtures. These are items like shelving or equipment installed by a commercial tenant for their business. Unlike standard fixtures, tenants may remove trade fixtures when their lease ends, provided they repair any damage caused. Let's go to the next one. The gradual accumulation of soil on one's property due to natural causes is known as A. Annulation, B. Accretion, C. Avulsion, D. Ademption. Take a moment to think it over. That would be B. Accretion. This refers to the gradual, natural buildup of soil or land from water movement, often resulting in an expansion of property boundaries. Let's dive into this one. How are prorations for real estate taxes paid in arrears reflected on a settlement statement? A. Debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. B. Credit to the seller and a debit to the buyer. C. Credit to both the seller and the buyer. D. Debit to both the seller and the buyer. Pause and think through it. The correct choice is A. Debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. Because taxes are paid in arrears, the seller owes their share for the time they lived in the property. So the seller is debited and the buyer is credited, since they'll pay the full tax bill later, including the seller's share. Now let's keep going. What is the term for the impact of large expensive houses in a neighborhood on the value of the smallest home? A. Regression. B. Progression. C. Substitution. D. Contribution. Think it through. The correct answer here is B. Progression. When lower value homes are surrounded by higher value properties, their values tend to increase. This is the principle of progression, the opposite of regression. Next up, in most states, which of the following types of listings is illegal and susceptible to fraudulent activities? A. A net listing. B. An exclusive right to sell. C. An open listing. D. An exclusive agency. Take a moment to consider. The right choice is A. A net listing. Net listings are often banned because they create a conflict of interest. The agent could set a high price just to earn more commission, which can lead to dishonest practices and harm the client. Let's look at this one. Leo, the seller, receives an offer to purchase and puts forth a counteroffer to Nick, the buyer. Until Nick notifies Leo of his acceptance or rejection, Leo, A, is legally bound to the terms of the counteroffer. B, may accept Nick's original offer. C, may produce a new counteroffer. D, cannot accept another offer from a different buyer. Pause and decide. The best answer is C, may produce a new counteroffer. Once Leo makes a counteroffer, Nick's original offer is no longer valid. Until Nick accepts, Leo is free to change the terms again or even accept a different offer altogether. Let's move on to your next one. What would be some potential outcomes of a transition from a buyer's market to a seller's market in the real estate industry? A. Construction activity in a new subdivision would decline. B. Prices would be unaffected as each parcel of land is unique. C. Prices would rise because of the increased demand and lagging supply. D. Prices would probably drop because of the increased supply and reduced demand. Reflect on this scenario. The best choice is C. Prices would rise because of the increased demand and lagging supply. That's the core of a seller's market. More buyers than properties. Limited inventory drives competition, and sellers can ask for, and often get, higher prices. Let's look at this one. A mortgage results in A. A specific contractual lien on the property being financed. B. A general lien placed on all properties owned by a borrower. C. A judgment lien placed on the property being financed. D. A contractual agreement between a lender and a borrower with no lien involved. Pause and consider your answer. The correct answer is A. A specific contractual lien on the property being financed. A mortgage is the most common example of a specific and voluntary lien. The lien is created by a contractual agreement, and it is specific to the property being financed. Here's another one. Under its police powers, a municipality has the authority to regulate various aspects of housing in a development, with the exception of A. Restrictive covenants. B. Building code compliance. C. Zoning restrictions. D. Environmental impact assessments. Think it through. The right answer is A. Restrictive covenants. Under their police powers, municipalities have the authority to enact regulations and ordinances to promote public health, safety, and welfare. This includes regulations related to building code compliance, zoning restrictions, and environmental impact assessments. However, restrictive covenants are private controls over land use, not public controls. Next up, What term refers to a yearly crop that is classified as personal property? A. Fixture. B. Intangible property. C. Employment. D. Appurtenance. Take a moment to consider. The correct choice is C. Employment. In real estate terminology, such a yearly crop is termed an employment. Employments are considered personal property because they result from the labor and cultivation of the person who planted them. Even if the land on which the crops are grown is sold or leased, the original planter typically retains the right to harvest these crops, emphasizing their classification as personal property. Let's move on. When private property is abandoned, the state may acquire title to that property under the right of A. Taxation, B. Eminent domain, C. Escheat, D. Police power. Pause and decide. The correct answer is C. Escheat. Escheat is a reversion of property to the state in the absence of an individual owner. Usually occurs when a property owner dies intestate without a will and without heirs. An individual cannot acquire property through escheat. Now let's look at this one. An acre is approximately equivalent to A. 43,560 square feet, B. 50,000 square feet, C. 5,370 square yards, D. A fourth of a square mile. Think carefully. The right answer is A. 43,560 square feet. An acre is a unit of land area used primarily in the US. It represents a specific measurement roughly equivalent to 43,560 square feet. Its dimensions can vary from a 1-foot strip stretching 8.25 miles to a 208.7-foot square. It is roughly the size of a football field, but slightly smaller. Let's look at this one. A capitalization rate is the A. Mathematical value determined by a sales price, B. Present value based on the rate of return a property will produce, C. Rate at which the amount of depreciation in a property is measured, D. Amount determined by the gross rent multiplier. Pause and think it through. The correct choice is none other than B. Present value based on the rate of return a property will produce. Capitalization rate is a real estate valuation measure used to compare different real estate investments. Although there are many variations, a cap rate is often calculated as the ratio between the net operating income produced by an asset and the original capital cost, or alternatively, its current market value. Next up, Jonathan has a 25-unit rental in Richmond, Virginia, with a pool, and he also added a pool to his 25-unit property in Miami, Florida. However, due to weather differences, the pool in Miami impacted net earnings more than in Richmond. What real estate principle does this scenario best illustrate? A. Principle of highest and best use. B. Principle of regression. C. Principle of contribution. D. Principle of substitution. Take a moment to consider your answer. The right answer here is C. Principle of contribution. The principle of contribution in real estate appraisal asserts that an amenity's value is based on its enhancement of the whole property, not its standalone cost. In the scenario, the pool added more value to the Miami property than the Richmond property, possibly due to factors like weather differences. Let's move on. Concerning townships, which of the following options is not correct? A. Townships are bounded by range lines and township lines. B. Typical townships encompass 36 square miles. C. All townships contain the same land area. D. Townships typically consist of a fixed number of sections. Think it over. C. All townships contain the same land area. It's the one that doesn't hold true. Not all townships are the same size. While many have a consistent land area, some vary in dimensions due to geographical or administrative reasons. These non-standard townships might differ in the number of sections they contain, leading to variations in their total land area. Examples of these would be townships located on the coast or along a boundary line, separating base and meridian areas. Now let's take a look at this. Emily noticed a property priced at $800,000 in one town and later discovered a similar property with the same design and income potential in a neighboring town for $500,000. Due to the cost difference, she opted for the property in the neighboring town. Based on which principle did she make her decision? A. The principle of substitution. B. The principle of progression. C. The principle of contribution. D. The principle of regression. Pause and decide. The correct answer is A. The principle of substitution. The principle of substitution suggests that a buyer won't pay more for a property if a similar, less expensive option is available. Essentially, the value of a property is influenced by the cost of acquiring an equivalent substitute property. Here's the next. How is the depreciation classified when there's substantial wear and tear on load-bearing walls? A. Functional obsolescence, incurable. B. Physical deterioration, incurable. C. Physical deterioration, curable. D. Functional obsolescence, curable. Think carefully before you choose. The correct response is B. Physical deterioration, incurable. Depreciation of load-bearing walls due to substantial wear and tear is classified as physical deterioration. This term encompasses the effects of wear and aging on structural elements. In this context, it is considered incurable since load-bearing walls are challenging and impractical to replace without significant disruption to the structure. Let's move on. A broker or salesperson's refusal to cooperate with other brokers because of race is prohibited by A. The Civil Rights Act of 1844, B. Executive Order 1068, C. The Presidential Fair Housing Act of 1973, D. The Federal Fair Housing Law of 1968. Think it through carefully. The right answer is D. The Federal Fair Housing Law of 1968. The Civil Rights Act of 1866, not 1844, prohibits discrimination based on race in housing. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 is a federal law that covers discrimination by sellers, landlords, and brokers against individuals based on their race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and familial status. Next up. When purchasing a home built before 1978, what disclosure must the seller make to the buyer? A. Truth in lending statement. B. Miranda warning. C. Lead-based paint disclosure form. D. Closing statement. Pause and decide. You're looking for C. lead-based paint disclosure form. If a house was built before 1978, the homeowner must disclose any lead-based paint hazard they know of, according to federal regulations. However, the seller isn't required to provide truth in lending statements or a closing statement. Meanwhile, the police give a Miranda warning when arresting someone, outlining their rights to an attorney and the right to remain silent. Let's take a look at the last one. Which of the following is a request to deviate from the strict application of zoning regulations for a specific property? A. Non-conforming use. B. Conditional use permit. C. Variance. D. Zoning amendment. Take a moment to consider your answer. The correct choice is C. Variance. A variance is a request to deviate from the strict application of zoning regulations for a specific property. Variances may be granted in cases where the property owner can demonstrate that compliance with the regulations would result in undue hardship or practical difficulties due to unique circumstances related to the property. And that's a wrap on the first 50 real estate exam questions you need to know. How did you do? Hopefully, these helped you get a better feel for the types of questions you'll face. Remember, the more you practice, the more confident you'll feel on exam day. If you found this video helpful, make sure to check out the rest of our content for more real estate exam prep. Don't forget to visit lexawise.com for access to full practice exams, flashcards, ebooks, and everything else you need to pass your state's real estate exam with confidence. I left you the link in the description below. Subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. You've got this, good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.